Hey everyone, welcome to the Dare to Care podcast, the podcast where we talk about the inner workings of ministry at Inspire Family Fellowship and community stories within the church. If you have comments, stories, or questions about Inspire or our Dare to Care ministries at any point during our podcast today, feel free to send those questions to Amy at inspirefamily.org. We also invite you to join us in person at Inspire any Sunday that you're able, 523 North 21st Street, Bismarck, North Dakota. We have Sunday services at 9:15 and 10:45. My name is Rob Pesky. I'm an associate pastor at Inspire Family Fellowship, and I'm joined today by one of my best friends in the entire world, Becky Rebecca Naslund. How you doing,
Thank
Becky?
you, Rob. I so appreciate that.
No.
Absolutely. We've been friends for a long time.
Well, we are, and so Becky's son Luke was on the podcast, I don't know, a few weeks ago. My son Ben is going to be on the podcast soon, or maybe even has already by the time you can hear this. But and somehow they became great friends as kids. And I always laugh, and we kind of joke that Becky and I are friends because our kids told us so.
Yes, absolutely. Well, and it also helped that you and my husband Shane were both stay-at-home dads.
Yep.
And would get to go and work out and then drop the kids off for a little bit of daycare, I guess you could say.
Shane and I exercised a lot when we had little babies.
Look at what I'm learning about you today.
Yeah.
And ever since, we've been good friends, and you certainly have been a good friend to my wife, and your other children are good friends with my other children, and it's just been really kind of amazing to see how our lives have intertwined, and now
each have 3 kids.
Yeah. And they're all pretty close in age. Yeah. Emily's a little younger, and Warren, of yours, is a little older. Yeah. But, yeah. So here we are. This is going to be fun and exciting, and I'm going to try not to, spoil any of your stories. And full disclosure, Shane has already been on the podcast.
I did listen to his podcast. That was great.
So you can correct any errors from that one and correct them. But, yeah, we always like to just start with, tell us a little bit about yourself, You were born one day, and then later you ended up here doing a podcast. What happened in between?
Sure. I feel so lucky to have been born. My mom had my sister, had a horrible infection, and was told at the age of 20 she should have a hysterectomy and she'd never have children again.
Oh, wow.
And so they didn't think they'd have any other kids. And so they prayed for me even before I was born, which feels awesome to have that growing up. What a solid foundation. And I definitely give the credit to my parents to have taught me the faith and prayed with me as a child and still to this day, growing up in a faith-filled family.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was raised Catholic. That might come off a little bit odd for this podcast. I still consider myself Catholic. My mom will say, you can't call yourself that because you belong to a Lutheran church. And I'm like, well, I guess I can call myself Lutheran as well, too.
Yeah.
And that might seem a little different from maybe some of the other folks that you've interviewed, but
you aren't the first Catholic we've had on this podcast. Mm-hmm. For the record, yeah. I don't, off the top of my head, I can't remember who the other ones were.
Well, Scott.
Oh yeah, your
was
husband.
Catholic, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, but that's not an uncommon thing at Inspire.
No, not uncommon at all. I think maybe the uncommon thing is that, if I'm to be complete honest, my comfort zone would be to stay at the Catholic Church. Mm-hmm. And I really enjoy the traditions and understanding the background of what those traditions come from. I would say I feel that God is calling me to be at Inspire Family Fellowship, particularly because of being uncomfortable with the relationship side of people and how important that is to have and form good relationships with people.
That's interesting because you are really good at forming relationships with people.
I know. She's always so happy and ready to just chat.
Are you sure you're not just comparing yourself to your husband?
Well, I mean, I definitely compare myself to my husband and my kids. And then I'm on the low end of the spectrum if I look at my husband and my kids for relationship-wise. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. And so you grew up in Montana, right?
I grew up in Havre, Montana, and then later we moved to Billings. And of course, I had to go out of state for college and went to NDSU in North Dakota.
And is that where you ran into Shane for the first time?
I ran into Shane at a barn dance in Arthur, North Dakota. He was going to school in Crookston, Minnesota, and we dated long distance for 3 years before we got married.
Very cool. We've talked about this in our past. My wife used to go to those same barn dances.
Yeah, this barn is known.
Oh, you've been to these barn dances.
I have not been to the barn dances,
okay.
but they were definitely still happening when I was in college.
Very cool.
And the barn burned down, and once you know it, they had to rebuild it so they could still have kids go out there.
It's a staple.
It's a staple. That's amazing.
Okay, point though, I never expected to meet my husband at the barn dance.
Fair enough.
But there are sometimes in your life where you feel like God is literally tapping you on the shoulder, and that was one of those instances.
Interesting. That's crazy. Well, I'm very glad that you did meet your husband at that barn dance, and I'm glad you let him stick around long enough to be part of our lives. So you guys got married, and I know you lived in Wisconsin for a little while.
Moved out to Wisconsin, had never been there before, and lived in Madison, Wisconsin for 6 years. Had Warren and Luke, our first 2 kids, and my father-in-law, he had been diagnosed with Parkinson's when Warren was born, and had taken a turn for the worst. And so we were 12 hours away from my husband's family in northern Minnesota, and also from Bismarck, where my parents and my sister had moved. And, well, I'll just say I had no intention of leaving Wisconsin, and had a great job, lots of development going on. And wouldn't you know it, one time at night, I'll tell the story. One time at night, I get this feeling like I should go online. I had set my sister up to look at jobs for North Dakota for her husband. And it's around 11:30, and I'm like a 10 o'clock person. So I go online. My husband was in Minnesota for a funeral with the kids. Look at, there's a job in Bismarck. I just feel like God's calling me to apply for this job. I go ahead and apply for it because the deadline was midnight. And I have no resume. And if you know me, I'm a planner.
Yeah.
I have no resume. I'm not looking for a job, but I feel that God's calling me to do this.
And now you have 30 minutes.
And now I have 30 minutes to apply for a job. And so I do it, but I'm like, Shane, I just felt like God was calling me to do this, but, probably not happening, right? So I get a call a few days later from the hiring manager, and he says, there was a glitch with our system, and the job only posted for a day. Can you please reapply? I'm like, okay, I'll reapply. And so I do, and that gave me time to put together a resume. I get to fly out to Bismarck for an interview, and like most large corporations, that takes the time to get notified if you're going to get a job. I got a job offer at lunch.
Oh, really? Wow. Holy cow.
And we just felt like God was calling us to move. That allowed my husband to help his dad with farming, and we could be closer to both families. And so that was Father's Day, the Monday after Father's Day weekend, and then we moved here in the beginning of August.
About what year was that?
2007.
2007. Okay, cool. So you come to Bismarck, new job. Was this with MDU?
It was with MDU.
Okay.
Yep. We had built a house in Wisconsin, and it was so exciting to have a new house, brand new house. Yeah. We come to Bismarck, and not a whole lot of options. And so we rented a 2-bedroom apartment, and, 6-month lease, we'll find something. We didn't. So long story short, 2 years later, I'm like, we really need to find a house because I find out that I'm pregnant again.
Oh, yeah.
So we ended up looking, and we had a house that we were going to buy that fell through, and so we decided to build. And we had about 6 months in our 2-bedroom apartment with our 3 children. So I'm going to
pivot to the theological side here. How did you know God was calling you to apply for this job?
I know. Doesn't that seem crazy?
Well, I work for the church, so I hear about God calling all the time. But
Sure.
How did you know? Because I think that's something people wrestle with. Like, what am I supposed to do? How do I know what to do? And you clearly felt like called to this. And then the circumstances around it seem to confirm that.
Sure. I feel that maybe I'm so hard-headed that maybe God has to tap me on the shoulder sometimes.
Really?
I felt that same way with Shane when he asked me to dance at the barn dance. I will say there was, when I was... The summer before kindergarten, I had a traumatic experience of I'll just say I found myself locked in a bedroom basement of our neighbor's house.
Oh.
And through that experience, felt like God was basically telling me the things I should say in order to be able to have him release me. Mm-hmm. And from that, I've paid special attention to those certain times, because I will say those are probably the 3 times in my life where I really felt the hand of God saying, this is what you need to do. So not very often.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. But still, like, it was like a feeling? Was it, you didn't like see a burning bush or something
audible.
like that?
No, no, definitely a nudging.
A nudging.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And then I have to wonder, were there other nudgings that I've had in my life that I've been so busy to not pay attention to?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very possible.
Yeah.
Although I will say, I think God's will be done.
Absolutely.
And so I think he works with that. Okay, so anyway, you moved to Bismarck, you got the job, another baby. I know eventually you found a house, or you built your house.
We built our house.
Yeah.
Yep, had Katrina, built the house.
And I first met you going to Charity. How did you end up there because you were still a Catholic family, right, when you moved to Bismarck?
So the Catholic Lutheran tension has always been between Shane and I since we met. And when we moved to Bismarck, I said to my husband, I said, his family is very anti-Catholic. I'll just say it. There's a lot of things that they don't understand. Mm-hmm. And so that's scary, right? Mm-hmm. So, well, if you got to understand what you don't like. And so I asked him to go to RCIA classes, and he did. And we attended Ascension. And I had a coworker.
And RCIA is like the become a Catholic or learn about the faith classes. Okay,
yeah.
Cool.
So he did that, became a Catholic, begrudgingly, I will say, kicking and screaming. And I had a coworker at MDU that invited us to a Wednesday service at Charity. Mm-hmm. And we came, and my husband and kids, I'll say mostly Warren, because he would have been the 5 oldest. Or 6, just loved it. And so we started coming to Wednesday night services and then attending Catholic church on Sundays. Yeah. Did that for a few years until my husband said, if we're going to actually form relationships with people and get to know people, we have to choose. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of prayer. And I will say I really wrestled with that. My comfort zone is being Catholic.
Yeah, for sure.
I felt like God was calling me to be outside my comfort zone.
Yeah, I know because we've had these conversations. My wife was raised Catholic, and we had very difficult conversations in our dating years especially, and even came to a point where I remember sitting in her apartment in college and saying, like, listen, if we're going to stay together, we need to be on the same page here. And I was probably a bit of a bully. Maybe that's where my kids get it. And I said, I love you, but I'm not going to change. I can't compromise on these things. And to her credit, she said, well, I love you too, and I can compromise on some of these things. And so she came, and I think she is pretty comfortable here now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
But I do know there is that almost like nostalgia or like that missing of the routine. Mm-hmm. And in her family, we go to Catholic church, for certain occasions, weddings or funerals or something. And there is something about those traditions that are healing and wholesome and helpful, especially if you're going through something that is not healing, helpful, or wholesome. You know what I mean? Yeah. So. And
yet the differences between both are so minor.
So minor.
To me, it wasn't a hill to die on.
For sure.
I think it's so interesting how Shane went to the Catholic classes, and then they found that balance of, we'll do this Sunday, we'll do this Wednesday. So you're getting both. But, in the end, you all came together. Very similar to yours.
Yeah.
Which I think it just shows your relationship with your family, too. your love for each other and how you give and take.
Right. And it was so important for us to make sure that our kids had a solid foundation. And that means that they're growing in their faith. And we found that within Charity. We found that within Inspire, as far as having that support for our kids to grow in their faith. That's just a very important thing for us.
Yeah.
Which, again, you talk about God's calling and his direction in your lives. The Naslund kids are some of the most influential leaders in our youth group. And not just one or two. Like, Warren was, I think, literally the first kid in the youth group here. And he and Cora,
That's cool.
and there was
It was
a
a
couple
small
other.
group.
Yeah, but they were the first ones to go to Wyandotte and really brought a lot of that culture back and said, hey, we need more of this. We need to go. And I think of Warren as the tip of the spear, that group of people. And then Luke shows up a couple years later, and man, I don't know what to call Luke.
He's energy.
A force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Uncompromising, whatever that is. And but what a leader, and what a great kid who invites people. And I see that relationship focus that your family has just drips off him. Like, he can't help it. And then now it's really been fun to see. You've watched Katrina grow into that too, because she's doing the same things in her own way.
Mm-hmm.
And it's neat to see how they each approach it differently.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
This summer, Katrina went to Crystal Springs.
Yep.
And it was a great opportunity for her to reconnect again with Olivia. Her and Olivia have gone to Crystal Springs.
Yep.
Oh, man. I don't know
Okay,
how
so
many
hold
years.
on. The Catholic lady sent her Lutheran daughter to the Baptist camp.
Oh, yeah. And it's so great. I love it when they come back, because she always has questions.
Yeah.
Always. And then we get to
great.
sit down. We get to talk about, like, they said this. And then I can say, well, the reason why is this, and this. And this is why they might not understand.
Right, for sure. No, and those are great conversations. And what a blessing to have a parent who can have those conversations with you. I think there's a lot of parents out there that are like, what if my kids ask me about this and they don't know? What would you say to a parent who wants to have meaningful discussions with their kids, but maybe is unsure? Like, how did you get the knowledge you have or the assurance you have?
When I think about having difficult conversations or awkward conversations, I really look up to my husband.
Yeah.
He makes the awkward seem like it's no big
He
deal.
is the king of awkward conversations.
though?
He is.
Yeah.
If anyone out there wants to have an awkward conversation, Shane is available anytime.
And you will feel comfortable by the end of it. And so it's almost as if you just jump right in, and how making it like an everyday conversation.
Sure.
But still, it helps to have the background, right? Like, her and I were talking about one of the things, and I was like, oh, well, let's look it up in the Bible.
Yeah.
Then we could look it up together. And I will also say, just one thing that I learned early on as a parent is that it's important when me, as a parent, if I screw up, to ask forgiveness from my children.
For sure.
And to show that how to do that. I'm demonstrating to them how to do that when they get older, as they get older too. That's, I think, important.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as parents, we just have to jump into those conversations and admit when we're wrong,
Yep.
admit when we don't know,
Yeah.
and share what we do know. And I think that's even biblical. I mean, it says just tell them what God has done for you. And you can trust that too, and make it a regularly occurring thing.
And if it's done regularly, then it's easier.
For sure. Well, that's awesome. So you mentioned your parents being a big influence in your life and your faith, and then your husband, obviously, part of that. Are there other people in your life that you feel like have been influential in you, or maybe even the other way around? There are people that you feel like you've been called to mentor or serve along this journey?
Yeah, I had a religion teacher in high school, and we did like small group singing, and there was a bunch of us that met regularly, weekly.
Did you go to Catholic high school?
I went to
Okay.
Catholic high school,
Cool.
yes.
Awesome. I think I knew that, but I wasn't sure, so I didn't want to assume, but okay.
Yep, and definitely helped me grow in my faith. And, Shane and I have to give credit to my husband, too. We've had good conversations about religion. Folks that... The other thing is that it doesn't matter what age you are to be able to learn from someone. And so I feel like if I have conversations with my kids as friends, that helps me to think about things differently.
Yeah, well, Luke said this in his podcast, and I remember it clearly because it's been haunting me. And I think he credited you with this idea, is that we all learn different things at different times.
Yeah. I will say, right now, we talk about faith journey. Right now, for the last while, I have felt like I've been in a valley with my faith. And that is hard because who wants to be in the valley hearing nothing, right? I mean, we've had a lot going on and a lot of positive things. And I have felt... I've taken another leadership position in work. I have felt this weight of responsibility for the people that I'm leading and wanting to make sure that I don't misstep, mislead, and have really been seeking God's help and wisdom in that and coming up with silence. And that's not an easy thing to do. And yet I feel like that's part of faith. It's not always going to be easy.
For sure. Well, over and over on this podcast and just in general conversations, it's so interesting when you talk to people because they always say God brings the most growth in those valley experiences. And they look back on them and say, I'm so glad I went through. We've had people be thankful for cancer here because through that they grew in one way or another. And not that we wish that on anybody, but I do want to give you some encouragement. If you are in that valley, hold on, because God is faithful, and no one wants to go through those valleys. And I will someday ask him, why do you grow people in the valleys? Why not grow us from the top of the mountains? Because that's where I'd rather get my growth.
Me too.
Because growth doesn't happen when you're comfortable.
Isn't that the case, right?
I'm so sorry to break the news. Growth happens when you're uncomfortable.
But yeah, no, I hear you. That's a lot. And I know your life. You've had career changes in the last month or two. You've had a child being shipped off to Naval Academy in the last month or two. Shane's had career changes. Man.
It's been a lot.
Yeah, it's just been crazy. And I can't imagine how much you're maybe looking forward to like the school year where everybody's where they belong and get some routine back in your life.
Yeah, it's that whole thing of routine, right? You talk about being comfortable. Like, I'm comfortable with tradition and routine. Yep. Well, maybe God just doesn't want me to be in that spot.
He'll use those things to grow you. But that doesn't make those routines bad either.
Yeah.
I so appreciate you on so many levels. But speaking as a pastor at this church, I love it when I hear people come in and say, I'm Catholic, but I'm finding God here. And I never want to be a place where you have to be a Lutheran to come into this place and be part of the community or believe what we're talking about or even just serve. And speaking of service, man, the Naslund family, but you too, for those listening that don't know who Becky is, she is one of our most reliable volunteers on our tech team. You do a lot of the Pro Presenter, probably 2-3 times a month. I don't know how often.
I like doing the Pro Presenter. I like coming up with different slides. I know sometimes it's a little much from the other team. Sorry, Tim and Ty.
Yeah. No, but you've been a faithful servant, and your family. And hey, we need help with this. The Naslund show up. Hey, we're going to do this event. The Naslund show up. We're doing this. I'm recording. We're doing a block party next week. It'll be done by the time this airs. But if Shane isn't hauling tables and chairs around by the time this is done, and you're packing up a tent, or that's because you're injured.
Was helping me get ice from one freezer to the other when it wouldn't fit, and in her bare feet, just running around the church.
Oh, that's so awesome!
Helping me haul ice.
There is no doubt in my mind that God has called you and your family here. And we're so grateful for that from him and from you and for all that you guys have done. And I can't wait to see what this valley leads to for you. And I'm sorry that you're in it, but God is faithful and he will pull you through. And it's going to be great. And I can't wait to go skiing again with you guys.
Absolutely.
We're gonna get Shane back on a cruise ship someday.
I agree.
That'll be great. And I just think it's going to be amazing. And your leadership, I forgot about this. I shouldn't have, because I was just reading them again. Becky Naslund wrote the guiding principles that Inspire is founded on. And I know you were assimilating from other leadership and stuff like that. But
it was super exciting to be a part of the board and get to play my part.
Yeah.
And just, I remember walking through the church. Obviously, it was a school at that time with Jenny Dietzman, and just thinking out loud together all the possibilities.
Yeah, it's amazing. So anyway, we're so grateful for you. We're so grateful for the time you spent with us, and what you share with Inspire goes beyond ProPresenter and guiding principles, and it's a relationship, and it's a family, and it's all those things that we hoped Inspire would be. So thank you for being part of that.
Thanks for having me.
Anything else you want to share before I close us up in prayer?
No, thank you so much. Appreciate being on.
Oh, it's
We're
been great.
lucky to have you.
For sure. Well, let's go ahead and we'll say a prayer, and then we'll say goodbye for today. But again, thank you for all you do. Dear God, we thank you for this day and for all your blessings and the gifts you've given us. Today, Lord, we just specifically lift up Becky to you. Pray that you bless her, that you guide her. Be with her in these career changes, in the family changes, in the church changes, and all of this chaos you throw at her. Her gift may be organizing things. And Lord, I just pray that you keep working through her to keep things organized. Give her life, bless her family, bless her children, bless her friends, and Lord, bless this church. I lift up all of our listeners today, Lord. I pray that you're with them, that you're giving them your peace, your wisdom, your comfort, your grace, and all the good things you've promised for us. In Jesus' holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much for joining us today on the podcast. Again, if you have questions, you can contact Amy at inspirefamily.org, or call the church, or swing by on a Sunday or even a Wednesday here as we fire a big night for the year. Have a great day, everybody.